Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Sneha Pham, and I work here at HBS in the MBA Student Academic Services program. We're so happy to have you, and we're really excited to have a conversation about bringing partners and families into the MBA experience here with the students. So without further ado, I'll let some of the panelists introduce themselves to you.
Hi everyone, my name's Sean Brown. I am currently a second year MBA student, also pursuing the MS program as well. I'm currently a father of 3 little girls. I have a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old that keep me very busy.
Hi everyone, I'm Noor Khalidi. I'm currently a first-year student here. I'm coming here from Washington, D.C. and brought my whole family along. I have a 4-year-old who's in preschool and a 5-month-old who I had over the summer before coming here.
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron Gan. I moved here from Singapore with my wife and a cat, and lots of resources here. Also joined the Partners Club with Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Friedman. I am a second-year partner to Adam Friedman. It's his birthday today, and he's watching, so shout out, happy birthday, Adam. I play 2 volunteer roles at HBS. I am the Chief Partners Officer on the Student Association, and I am the co-president of the Partners Club. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you. We're really excited to hear your experience with this topic. So briefly, we're just going to start off with an overview of what our Partners and Families community looks like here at HBS. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean to talk about the Crimson Parents Club.
Thank you. So I'm the co-president for the Crimson Parents Club. Crimson Parents Club is a group of about 70 families with kids. It's a very active group, one of the most active groups on campus. My wife is also a co-president with me, and we join up with 2 other folks that help us. And they're doing everything from doing small musical groups to sports groups for the kids all throughout the week. It's really quite impressive, the amount of work that they do. But we do activities for holidays, and we celebrate birthdays. We celebrate when new kids are born. It's just a very active and vibrant community of families, and the parents really get along. We all kind of stick together. In fact, I'd have to say some of my best friends here at HBS also happen to be part of the Crimson Parents Club.
That's awesome. That's great. Thanks, Sean. And Amanda's actually going to give a brief overview of the Partners Club. As she mentioned, she's a member of that too.
Yeah, so the Partners Club is a club that is run by the partners, and it is for both the partners and the students. We have roughly 200 members, and that's 100 couples. It is a club that breaks you out of the HBS bubble. We do programs in Boston. We try and do community-focused programming as well as social programming, so you can make friends from outside of your section life, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about later. It's also a club for ECs and RCs, so first years and second years, so it's a great way to build relationships between the two. And I do also want to talk a little bit about the other clubs. Partners Club is not the only club that you can join as a partner. You can join any club at HBS, which is kind of exciting. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And we often have many people who are members of both the Crimson Parents Club and the Partners Club. So one serves as a resource for the family side of your personality, I suppose, and then one serves as a resource for being a partner here at the MBA. So it's definitely not exclusive clubs. You see people are members of many different clubs, which I think is an awesome part of the ecosphere here. So there's really a space for everything that you're looking for, which is pretty amazing. Noor, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about the MBAs.
Yeah, so I'm a part of a group called the MBAs, cleverly titled. So it's really it's kind of a support group. We get together. It's the second year moms who are the students here at HBS and the first year moms who are the students here at HBS as well. It's been an amazing resource even before I was even before I was admitted. When I interviewed, I met a woman who was a MBA when I came on campus. And she was telling me about where she lives and just how she makes life work, the Childcare Options, which I'm happy to talk more about. And so coming in, even before I was admitted, I had a good sense that being a parent at HBS, being a parent student at HBS was something I could do and other people do. And so that was very assuring at the outset. And then immediately, I think the day I got admitted, I reached out back to her and was like, okay, and needed her advice because now it was real. Yeah. And so, I mean, true story, I reached out to somebody I met that was a mom student the day I was admitted. And from there, and coming in here, so it's just been a tradition kind of the second year moms really supporting and advising us first year moms. And next year I'm going to be happy to sort of advise and be that resource for new admit moms through the MBA and through their first year. And yeah, I mean, it's just sort of a sounding board of advice when it comes to lactation rooms and just logistically how people manage the day-to-day. And then certainly, so that's a tight-knit group of friends. And then most of us are also participate in the Crimson Parents activities. So it's been a really great network, but having that subset of the other mom students has been been an awesome outlet that I've had in the MBA Club.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I guess kind of to piggyback off of that, there's also many resources here on the HBS campus. I'm sure, Noor, you talked to some of them, and we're meeting with some of them who are here ready to help folks who are wanting to start a family during the MBA experience or expand their family during the MBA experience. So definitely resources available from the administration side as well to kind of navigate what that looks like, as far as parental leave goes, as far as lactation rooms, and just the logistics of starting a family or expanding a family. Even if you don't come here with children, it's definitely something that can be done while you are a student, whether, again, like I said, you're just starting or you're trying to expand your family. So
yeah, just to add to that, I mean, please. I haven't felt any lack of support so that was on the kind of inter-student side, but also from the administration. There are multiple parts of the administration that reached out to me when I came to campus, and recently when it came to like where I'm sitting in section, because I need to step out sometimes for lactation purposes. And so not just on the student side, but the administration, I have felt like I absolutely know who I could reach out to. And not only that, they're reaching out to me and asking me if I need help with anything. So no lack of support.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that,
Please.
I think the faculty is just extremely amazing with family. I recently had a good buddy of mine from the Crimson Parents who kind of ran into a pickle where his wife was out of town and he had their sole daughter, and he's like, what am I supposed to do? I can't really go to class with her.
Yeah.
And his professor got wind of it and said, I will be offended if you don't bring her to class, because he's like, I have 5 kids, and if I can't have a class where in the middle of it all, and in the pickle, you don't feel comfortable bringing your kids, and I'm not doing it right. So I think the faculty is extremely supportive in those last minute scenarios.
Of course, that's amazing. Yeah, I think that there is, like you said, both from the student side and also the administrative or faculty side, there's no lack of resources, and it's very proactive. It's not just reactive, like what you were saying, Sean. So something that's really, I think, impressive from that end there. Awesome. So I think we'll jump into the Q&A portion of the afternoon. So we're just going to start off with a quick question first here. What factors were important to you as a student when you were bringing your family or your partner with you to business school?
So for me, I had several mentors that had brought their families to school, and I remember asking them, how do you do it all, right? It's a financial burden to be out here with family, right? You can definitely live in the dorms for much cheaper.
Sure.
And their comment was, I would never change it. Like, being here on campus with your family is just an incredible experience. Not only does my wife have a social network that not only mirrors, if not is bigger than mine, right? My kids have friends here, and I also spend, it's odd, but I spend a lot of time with my kids that I wouldn't otherwise get to spend, whether it's, in between classes and for lunch, I can come home. And I wasn't able to do that, in the professional work sense.
Absolutely.
And so, my mentors all said, I spent more time with my family at HBS than, I did before going to HBS. So I think it's just an incredible opportunity to bring your family with you.
That's awesome. Yeah. Aaron, how about you when you were bringing a partner with you or your wife you mentioned?
Yeah, when moving across, we wanted, very importantly, to be in a city or near a city, just because the partners kind of like what meant us. Sometimes we love HBS, but your partner just want to make sure they have options outside of HBS.
Sure.
So having a good transport close to the city, she goes to the museum, she goes downtown, she has a lot of things to do.
Wow.
And then also how receptive the community is, because as an international, she can work. So what to do outside of when I'm in class. So it's very heartwarming that all the student clubs welcome partners. She's heavily involved with the student clubs in the real estate club, family business club. And then she's like a VP of events for them even.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, and then she writes for the student newspaper. So having that kind of things that the school have for partners to get involved in, to keep them engaged, was very important for me.
That's awesome. That's great. Nor, do you have anything to add to that from the student perspective of bringing your family?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar. I mentioned that I reached out to people and really did a lot of data gathering, but it was just feeling when I did data gather, it felt like there was absolutely a community that I was going to immerse my family in coming here, and that's rung absolutely true. And so I think that was the biggest factor for me. I don't think it was ever a question of if they would come along with me, but it was how are we going to feel supported and immersed, and is it going to throw us off with me being in school? And it hasn't felt that way.
Sure, absolutely. So we have a few more questions coming in here. Kind of flipping that question, Amanda, how is it to be a partner at HBS? I guess we've heard from the student perspective, but what is it like from your perspective as a partner?
It's been an amazing experience for the past. I can't believe how fast like a year and a half has gone by. It's a huge range. Like you get to choose how involved you want to be. I think a lot of people opt in more than opt out. So you have the Partners Club, which is a great community. It's an optional community, but then there's like the everything else of HBS. So it's all broken down into your sections, your 90 people, but a lot of your section mates could have a partner, and that almost could 50% increase the size of your section, and so it's just more people. The sections have been really great about being very inclusive of partners and families, so it's kind of like you're actually feeling almost like a student without the class side of things. I feel very comfortable on campus. I like being here without my husband because I get to say hello and hi to all the other students and partners that are around, and so I just feel like you just need to take as much advantage of it as well you can. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I know we've talked about the student clubs that partners are able to join, but how else have you been able to kind of join the community or get involved?
Yeah. I think my favorite aspect of it is whenever I get to sit in on a class. So you can visit class as a partner. You can't audit class, but you can still sit in and see the case method in action. And it's also really fun when you see your student have a comment and the whole class claps for him or them. And it's just been really great because then you get to meet the professor, you get to see everyone in the section in action and actually doing the work. And so that's been great. I also really enjoy going to the events. So there's a lot of great speakers and fun events that happen at HBS, and not everyone gets that opportunity. My favorite so far, we got to see the Fat Jewish talk. That was great. Mark Cuban's been here. So as a partner, you still get to experience the whole HBS community like that. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how about for you all with your families? Have there been things that your families have been able to get involved in from an HBS perspective as well, as far as events or any other community aspects?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my partner, he joins my section in going to play basketball and intramurals and stuff like that. My kid, who's in the on-campus childcare here, I mean, between Crimson Parents and between his school, there are so many events, the holiday parties, Halloween. His school that's on campus took the kids through campus on a Halloween parade, and they had a picture with the dean and went to the dean's house, and he came up to my classroom, and we were all in costume, and he was in costume. So it's been really fun. The amount of events, I think, is something that surprised me with how much there was to do, not just for me as a student, but for my son and for my two kids and for my husband. So that's been really great to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Yeah, in many ways, I don't feel like having a family has detracted at all. It's changed the experience, certainly, but in a very positive way. I think what's been a lot of fun has been bringing section mates over for dinner, because a lot of my section mates don't get to enjoy a home cooked meal typically,
Sure.
on a regular basis, and having them come over and read books to my kids, they just love that experience because it's just so different for them.
Yeah.
And so I found connecting with section mates, almost leveraging my kids, has been a great way to network. And has already been said, there's so many activities for families. Sure. My wife goes to girls' night pretty much 3 times a week, it feels like. And my kids also have so many programs that are always ongoing. It's just a busy, busy thing.
That's awesome. Erin, this question's for you, but would love to hear any stories about people who moved domestically as well. But what was it like moving to the United States for your MBA with your partner from abroad?
Yeah, it was smoother than expected, I would say. I mean, I think once you get past the point where you decide as a family that you will be, like what Sean said, it's a huge cost because for international partners, most of them can't work. Once you get past and then everything else, you realize HBS is there to support you. There's so much information from the Harvard International Office that provides us exactly the do and don'ts. And then when it comes to HBS, all the things you think if you're not working, what else can you get involved in? Like Amanda said, there's so much things you can opt into.
Sure.
Yeah, and then after arriving here, and then there's so many people who've moved here internationally. So that creates a community by itself. It's a support group. And they all talk about the different stories, and you share in the obstacles, and then you have everyone to support you along the way. And that has been incredibly beneficial for us.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And how about just moving, from places that weren't Boston, but within the United States as well?
So we moved from Chicago. I'm originally from New York, but so I'm familiar with the East Coast, but being in Chicago is definitely like a bigger move, just like culturally. I just wanted to make sure that I could find a job and things like that. But I think you're just so inside of like the HBS community that you don't really feel like sometimes the Boston community. So it kind of feels a little bit nice and warmer, I would say. So yeah, that's what it was like for me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I mean, that move was a pretty easy transition, I think. I'm from the Midwest, spent a lot of time in the Midwest, not necessarily Chicago, big city, but the HBS does have its own little bubble. And what's nice is a lot of what you need is very close.
Sure.
And, I knew several people who had kids and didn't have a car here on campus. And the Harvard University has like a bus system that's free that you can hop on and like take the bus all the way down to Trader Joe's. You can hop off, do all your grocery shopping at Trader Joe's, and there's also a Star Market right next to it, and you can hop the bus and go up to, the Harvard main campus where you can hop off and go to like Shake Shack if you want to get some food or go get some ice cream or something. And like, there's just a very robust bus system here that really augments the experience of coming to HBS.
That's awesome.
Yeah, similar. I think the transition itself was pretty smooth, although I did move with a 3-week-old, and we drove up from DC, so that's a different story. But coming here, I think the fact that HBS has its own campus is super nice, and it creates that nice bubble, which makes it a easier transition. And then, of course, downtown Boston and everything else is so accessible. So I think we've really enjoyed it and being able to take advantage of what Boston has to offer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I know that you all have come here with your significant others or with your families, but do you know any of your classmates who have chosen to do long distance over the 2-year program or 4-year program if you're in a joint degree? And could you speak to their experience just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you guys, so we had lots of long distance partners in our section, and whenever they came to campus, it was so exciting to see them because we heard so much about them, and whether it's on social media or from stories. So when they came to visit, it just felt like they were part of the section already. A lot of people would come in for like the bigger events, so it's kind of exciting because you get to see everybody all dressed up for the Holodazzle Ball or the end of the year gala, and so it doesn't really feel like they're long distance because you do still get to see them on a majority of the weekends that there's a lot of big social events happening.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I would say so. I have a lot of long distance partners in the section, and I want to say, like, for Partners Club this year, for RC, they actually created a partners representative as part of section leadership.
Yeah.
So really go a mile forward to keep the partners, even if they're long distance, very aware they have their own partners newsletters, their own like chat group. And we even like a Holodazzle, we had like the partners roasting, like contributing jokes about their partners, even those who are long distance, like gave in the content to tell us things that we didn't know about our fellow like section mates.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit more about that. So part of the Student Association, brand new this year, there's something called a family representative. So each section has their own leadership team, and years past, like there's always been like quietly a partner who's taken on that leadership role, but this year is the first year where it's like officially a role on the section board that it should be a partner who kind of does that organizing. The way it's been framed this year is there's a family representative in each section and a partner representative to kind of like rally everyone. That has been so crucial to this experience of the section life. And so each section gets to do it differently. Some sections, they put together babysitting funds. They have this partners newsletter for a few sections, and it's been really great to see in this pilot year of it happening how great it's been. It's also just great to kind of get like information from the sections directly. I feel like the school really hasn't had a great touch to like what the partner experience is like from the RC sections. It's usually a lot of like EC feedback. So it has been probably one of like the proudest achievements for me as the chief partners officer to like hear from these family reps and see how they're taking this role. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
That's great.
That's exciting, really exciting stuff. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about housing, because I know that is a hot topic when you're coming here, moving here, thinking about joining the community. So who do you all live on campus or off campus, and kind of what were the benefits when you were weighing that out? Because I know there's benefits to both, so just kind of talk through the process of how you thought through housing when you were getting here.
I can take this one.
Sure.
So, we thought about this a lot when we were first coming here, because you could probably find cheaper housing off campus. And I remember asking, again, back to my mentors, right, asking them, should you live on campus or off campus? And they all unanimously said, well, you gotta live on campus.
Oh, wow.
And I said, why? So, like, I can get like 30% discount if I go off campus.
Yeah.
And their reasoning was, when you're during the first year and during the second year, there are a lot of activities. There's a lot of speakers. There's a lot of recruiting going on. And the amount of time that you have with the family is usually in between those things, right?
Wow.
There's usually a half an hour here, 20 minutes there. When you're on campus, housing is like 5 minutes away. So I'm able to sneak home for lunch and, spend 15 minutes with my daughter and then go back out to class, right?
Yeah.
And that I wouldn't get that exact same experience had I been off campus.
That makes sense.
Similarly, and this is all biased because I'm on campus, right? I'm sure if you talk to anyone who's off campus, they would have equally
There's
great
benefits to both. We all
Exactly.
know that, yeah, for sure.
The other big benefit of being on campus is there's just such a strong representation of families on campus. Like we used to joke, like there's this family row where
I live in that.
do you live there? And like last year, even in one of the apartment complexes, there's like this family hallway, and like everyone just opened their doors and just let all the kids like run around crazily.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's just a fun to have everyone close by and close here, and in many ways it also gives you some flexibility to go spend some time with folks that are close and have a plethora of classmates that can act as babysitters and come over and spend a little bit of time.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great.
I guess I'm the off-campus advocate here. We talked a lot about this before, but family on campus, it totally makes a lot of sense. For me, we live pretty close to campus, but not directly on, and it's been really beneficial. We learned the T and the bus line and just getting into the city and not always feeling like we have to be inside of the campus bubble. So it's like we get to choose when we want to be here.
Sure.
And I think for us, it worked out really well. I wouldn't suggest being super far. Our kind of like agreement when we moved here was my husband Adam wanted to be like within 15-minute walking, so he could walk to class and even in the snow. So that's kind of just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I wanted to live on campus, but I'm actually off campus.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have to go through a lottery. And for me, I wanted to be closer, because coming from Singapore, it's too cold to walk 15 minutes in the cold. But surprisingly, now off campus, it's been really good experience. Like what Amanda said, we have like great transport. We learned the T. We took the bus that Sean mentioned. My wife takes the bus every day.
Awesome.
And we cycle to school for me. So it has been really, really beneficial. And actually a lot of, because families with children get priority. So turns out that living off campus where I am continuum, a lot of couples without children are there.
Wow, okay.
Just so we have a bigger apartment and more facilities in the apartment compared to living on campus.
Great, yeah. Awesome. Sounded
Yeah.
like you and Sean had similar.
Right, yeah. I live on campus among where a lot of the families live in some of the bigger units that have more bedrooms. And so, and it's just really nice. Like all my neighbors have children. I think we've never, my son has never lived in a place that has so many just kids just out to play with.
Awesome.
So it's just become the norm that there's children at the playground. We look out our window to see if there's anyone outside to play with, and he'll alert me if there is. And so it's really fun. And of course, the closeness to classes and being able to come and go quickly is a huge benefit for my family personally.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We've got a question here coming in, and I think Nora, you mentioned that you'd be willing to talk about this a little bit more. But what are some of the childcare options that are available around HBS?
Yeah, so Harvard has a network of childcare facilities. The closest one to HBS is the one that's actually on campus here, called the Soldiers Field Park Child Care Center. And so I would recommend anyone that admits, or even if you've interviewed, potentially getting on the list. That's actually what I did after interviewing. I got on the list, and so it's really convenient. It's right by where the on-campus housing is, so that's literally like a 4-minute walk to where your class building is going to be, and so it's really simple, just leaving home, dropping him off. And so my son and I joke that we're both going to school, which is true. I'm like, come on, we got to go to school, let's get out the door. And so we leave at the same time. I drop him off. It's really smooth. As a parent, student mom, it makes it really smooth. And so that's the HBS on-campus option. I know there are other ones that are sort of around. There's like Peabody Terrace that's right across the bridge. So there are more. And I think even if you lived off campus or around surrounding Harvard, you would find sort of other centers that might be good options depending where you live.
That's excellent.
Yeah, Crimson Parents maintains a list of
Yeah.
probably 7 or 8 different childcare options outside of just the Soldiers Field one that includes also like price breakdowns by month. And so there are options. My oldest daughter attends a preschool 3 days or 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay.
And we found that to be beneficial. But it's off campus. It's about 10 minutes away. Sometimes my wife walks. Sometimes she drives if it's really cold out.
Sure. Yeah. So it sounds like there is a network, both from the school and from Crimson Parents, that kind of allows you to have a couple different options about whatever would work best for your family and your children. Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. All right. We got another question coming in here. Could you, as a student and then as a partner, kind of describe your typical day and how often you see your partner or your families throughout the day? I know, Sean, you've mentioned a few times you're able to slip away for lunch, but how often do you see your partner and your family, and how do you really think about the division of time and how has that been for you, I guess is the question.
You should probably cover the first year since you're in it right now.
Sure, yes. I mean, so as far as classes, so during your first year, classes usually, they're all, it's structured, your schedule's structured. Some days end at 12-ish, some days end at 2-ish. So it does leave a good amount of time to be at home, and I think that's the time when, so after class, students are sort of using their time how they feel like they need to. Some people are networking, some people, so for me, and so for some student moms, I think going home, being at home for lunch and things like that is a priority. So it's really what you want to prioritize. I think there is certainly time in the day to spend time with your family. As far as what my typical day looks like, it's waking up in the morning, getting the kids ready, taking them to school on my way to school, and then I'll go home, have lunch, and read my cases while my older son is in preschool. During the day. And so what that looks like is when I go to pick up at 5:30, I've gotten in as much homework as I'm going to get in sort of in that time. And then after 5:30, it's play, it's getting ready for dinner, it's bath time, and then bedtime. And then after bedtime is when I'll finish up emails or other cases that I have. And that's precisely the advice that I had gotten from moms before, was like, before pickup, get in as much as you can, then it's family time in the evening, and then whatever else you need to do after bedtime.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the second year is much different. I mean, on a really good day when I do feel ambitious to get to the gym, the gym's right here on campus. You can get up at 6 in the morning and go right there. And then, I come home, I spend like an hour with the kids, getting them ready, eating breakfast and stuff. And then I head off to class early in the morning. My wife kind of takes over right then. My wife stays home with all 3 of our kids. And she leverages things like the YMCA, which is great in the area. She goes there, and they have a child care type thing there that's free. So she gets essentially an hour and a half of free babysitting every day. At one point, she was using 2 YMCAs because they have like a thing going back and forth, and she had like
That's awesome.
3 hours of free babysitting. And so we'll do that, and then I'll come home usually for lunch in between classes for about 30 minutes or so, and then I'll go back to campus, and it's either more classes or preparing for school. I'll come home at 5, usually 5, and then stay to 6:30 or so.
Sure.
And then from like 7 to 9 can either be recruiting if it's during the recruiting time, or it's usually social activities, or it's like continuing case prep for the next day. Kind of depends on what the time of the season is.
That's great. Yeah. And what about for you all? How often do you get to see your partners on a daily basis?
I'm trying to think. So I'm just reflecting back on the first year experience.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say we have a first year and a second year
Yeah,
experience.
so the first year, the first semester, my husband wanted to do everything. I had a day job, so I couldn't do everything. So I think there was like a lot of give and take there where I felt like I didn't get to see him as much. But once the second semester kind of started to calm down a little bit more, we got more into a rhythm. I felt like we were always seeing each other for dinner, which is kind of nice because pre-HBS we didn't do that. And now with the EC year, he got to choose his schedule, and so he's done with classes by like 1 or 3 o'clock, and it's a lot more flexible. We have our own dog care that we take care of, so it's like we go back and forth on whether or not he wants to go to Shad versus whether I want to go, and taking care of our dog during the day. But it's been pretty nice. It's been a big departure from when he was working in finance and couldn't see him as much.
Sure.
I like it.
Yeah. I would say the first semester is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have children, I only see my wife every dinner. We have dinner every day, almost every day.
That's
but
great, yeah.
basically during the day, after classes, for me, I don't have to see my kids. So that's when you squeeze all the case prep.
Sure.
And then I'm recruiting, so recruiting is the hardest part because recruiting events happen at night.
Yeah.
Sometimes she goes to bed, about to go to bed, and then I come home in a suit. And,
Sure. Yeah.
So, but once you mentally prepare with your partner, once you get past this first semester, everything gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's also important just like having the time for like the partners club stuff, going together, or just like date night like once a week if you can do it. I think that kind of grounds you a little bit.
Absolutely.
The first semester is like really difficult. You're just navigating, but after that it's a smoother sailing.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've all taken, just prioritized, making sure you're carving out time for each portion of the demands that are in your life right now. So whether it be case prep gets this much time, spending time with your children gets this much time, date night gets this much time.
Yeah.
So it sounds like if you're willing to prioritize it, it's absolutely doable, and then you're able to totally fit it in, which is amazing. Awesome. Cool. So, all right, we'll move to the next question here. And everyone can answer this, of course. But Amanda, I'll start with you as the partner. Are partners involved in the section life here? And if so, how?
Yes, like very. I think it's all based on what your section is like, on how involved. My section, we have a lot of partners, and so we kind of like demanded to be involved, but the students are very willing. There's a lot of communication channels, whether it's WhatsApp or Slack that the section uses. It all starts there. The partners get access to that, and they learn about the different events that are happening. And in the EC year, I'm now planning like the graduation party for this section with the president. We planned like something for Harvard, Yale. Like it all comes from the partners. So I feel like we've been very lucky in that sense.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I would say very involved. My wife Anya works with Amanda a lot. She's the partner rep in the section.
Great.
And basically they're welcome. I think when I go back to the point that about prioritizing, you never feel like you miss out really on social because the section actually welcomes your partners. So you don't have to like worry about I'm not spending time with them. Actually, you just bring them along to all your events.
Great. Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Awesome. And your partners, obviously.
Yeah, my partner works in Boston, so I think, and his schedule isn't really 9 to 5. So I think when he's able to, he carves in time. Like I mentioned, he goes to the gym and plays with people in my section. He likes to play basketball and stuff with other people in my section. So that's been his main outlet.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. All right, we have one more question coming through here. What's it like to have a newborn at HBS? So I think that we have two experts at this who can maybe give a little bit of color on this topic.
You could probably talk most recently.
Yeah, I mean, I have a small baby. I've had some help in the initial transition, and he'll be going into the Soldiers Field Park infant room for childcare starting next semester. So so there certainly is childcare options. I think at least the HBS daycare takes babies as little as 2 months. So I think people are usually maybe filling in or having family in those initial months, but pretty soon after there are childcare options through the childcare facility here. And then just as far as the support network, it's amazing. I know the mom students, have throw baby showers for each other. There's definitely a lot of, there's like meal trains to like help give new moms, new families, help them with meals and meal planning and cooking for them and stuff like that. So I think, again, the support through the community is amazing. And then also the new maternity leave policy that was just enacted by HBS, I think, makes being a student mom and having a newborn even a bit more, makes that transition easier.
It's amazing. Yeah. Anything to add, Sean?
I had a good friend of mine who had twins between the first and second semester, and so they like really lived it. What was it like to have, sleepless nights? And, there's always ways to work it out, whether it's, there's resources like I get texts all the time of, hey, I'm going to Costco, or hey, I'm going to this grocery store. Do you need anything? And,
that's amazing.
That makes it easy from that standpoint. But they also were able to get a night nanny, and they hired a night nanny to come in and just watch the kids for the night so that they could get at least some sound sleep. I joke with him that I think that's the best sleep he's ever gotten. Was when I had the night nanny. But it's very doable, I think, with a new baby, right? Everyone recognizes that it's a lot of work.
Sure.
And so, especially the parents on campus, step up and really help.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I think this next question is for you, Sean. Is a dual degree here at Harvard possible when you're coming with a family?
You're
living it.
Yeah,
So.
I am living it. Our co-president is also doing the JD MBA
That's right.
well.
Yeah.
And so I certainly think it's possible. It is a lot of work. The regular MBA program sees a reprieve from the workload, as the program goes on, right? First semester is the worst, second semester gets a little bit better, and then the second year is even much more flexible than the first year. Dual degree program maybe doesn't see as much of a reprieve from that. But in many ways, you also have another second layer to the network, right? So I have, we have an MS MBA cohort. I call them my second section in many ways.
Yeah.
And they're just another resource that I can pull in. Some of our best friends that I have, babysit on the last minute's notice came from, that dual degree program.
Wow. Yeah.
Workload, yes, there's still quite a bit of workload
Sure.
associated with it, but I think there's more people to help out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's excellent. All right, this next question coming in, and it seems like you guys have touched on this a little bit, so I think I know what your answers are going to be, but let's check it out. Do you find that you miss out on any of the MBA experience by bringing a partner or family with you?
I can go with that. Yeah, I think majority no.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, there's some parts you definitely have to give and take.
Sure.
I would say because there's so much events and things going on, just by the virtue that you decided to spend more time with your partner, you're definitely giving up something.
Sure.
But at least you move from from FOMO to JOMO. You're happy missing out.
Yeah.
And I think personally for me, the most, I think people, you might be thinking or talk about people go on a lot of trips and travels. I think definitely on the lower end of that, just because you just want to sometimes do trips with just your partner.
Sure.
And not with 100 people.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's helpful, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been a benefit to be able to have so many resources, and like I mentioned before, just prioritizing. I think every single student, family or not, partner or not, there's so much to do here. You're prioritizing regardless. So some people focus a lot more on their case prep and skip out on some events. I think some other people do it the opposite way. And then for somebody with a family, you're working in family into that. So I think everyone's making choices. Everyone's, adults, everyone's, in life, you'll have to make priorities. So I don't feel like I've missed out. I think my experience might be different than some other people's, but I don't think any two experiences are identical.
That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the trick really is to recognize, what do you really value. There have been trips that, at least with a family, we're precluded from going on a lot of trips, right? But as a family, if you just take some advanced planning, you can still partake in a lot of the events and the things that are going on. So, for example, when our section had the retreat, I didn't necessarily take my whole family on it, but I did take one of my daughters with it, and it became a really great experience for me to not only bond with my one daughter as kind of like a daddy-daughter trip, but also my section just fell in love with that one daughter that I brought, right? Rather than having to deal with all the kids that I bring. And, other trips for spring break, we went on a trip with a couple other couples, and in that instance, I, flew out my parents so that they could watch the kids, so that we could actually get out and have some kid-free time.
Sure.
So I think there are ways that you can get out and really experience the HBS, but, to the points that have already been made, there's no such thing as, getting the full HBS experience. Because everyone has to, at some point, say, I can't do all of it.
No,
right?
That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Amanda, anything to add?
No, I mean, I would say my husband would probably agree with everything that they've said. As from the partner perspective, I would just say, encourage your student as much as you can to get involved and to make them feel comfortable saying yes and no to different things. Again, prioritizing dinners and date nights were very important to us, but I never wanted him to feel like he was missing out of anything. And then sometimes he did feel some JOMO, which was great for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. So kind of zooming out a little bit, is Boston and Cambridge a fun place to live for you all with your partner, with your families? Has it been a place you've been able to kind of adjust to pretty well?
Yes, I think it's been. I feel like it's sometimes you're in a movie, when you're walking around Harvard Square, and it just becomes kind of second nature to you. We always say that this has been the best airport city. The airport is so close, and just flying here and there has been really great. Definitely gonna miss that when we move to Chicago. I know O'Hare's an hour away, but I would say, yeah, it's been good.
That's awesome.
It's been great. We specifically wanted cities to live in. I think Boston and Cambridge is great. The airport, and then downtown is so nearby, and just there's so many restaurants to go on date nights with.
Sure.
And there's so many different cuisine. For us, we can have Western supermarket, we have Asian supermarket. There's so much things that's available.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to add to what's been said, I had an internship in Dallas over the summer, and I said, we're going to take everyone to Dallas, right, hon? And she goes, oh, no. No. I'm going to stay here in Boston, and you can go to Dallas. And she stayed in Boston with all three kids, and she had a blast. Boston's fantastic all year round. During the summer, it's amazing because there's lots of bike paths, there's lots of paths. In fact, there's this one path that you can take from HBS campus.
That's right, yeah.
And it's a 3-mile path into downtown, and you pass 4 or 5 different parks on the way. It's great with kids because you just take it, drop off, stay at one park, let them get there all their playing, and then you move to the next park. And what a great picnic day.
Sure.
It's just a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I would just echo that. There's a ton to do with your family. There's the museums, there's great parks, and I think especially in the summer, we experienced a little bit of the summer in the early fall, and it was wonderful. And then again, to have that with the community here, there's a ton to do.
That's amazing. Yeah, great. I guess we're coming to a close here soon, but just to kind of wrap everything up, what tips would you give to bring your partner here, bring your family here? What are the high-level tips that you'd like to share with someone who would be asking that question or debating this question, I should say?
I'd say to be flexible with each other, talk to each other about what's important to you, how often you'd be okay seeing each other. If it is important to one partner to have lunch every day together or dinner every day together, I think a lot of that kind of communication to figure out what's going to work out for you, because like I mentioned, I think every student has a different experience and every family has a different experience with their priorities, and then also just talking to current students and learning their experiences or mentors that might have been at HBS before. before. I think between that data gathering and talking to each other, I think certainly there's a lot of space for people to figure it out and to have a really good time here.
Yeah, I would echo that and just say speak to a current partner or someone with a family, really understand what the experience is like. There's so many people that are in those shoes and have walked them before, and they're very happy to be honest and give the feedback. But yeah, I think it's really understanding that a partner and a family is a part of this experience as well. They don't have to feel like it's a choice, and that they can experience as much as they want to opt into.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that conversation beforehand, and I think reaching out early if you don't have any friends or family who is a existing partner, like the resources here are immense. Just emailing the Partners Club, they'll get back to you. Like we leverage the Partners Club to ask about how to settle in, where to live in, which are the neighborhoods we should consider.
Yeah.
So those are really helpful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think everyone's just really excited to help other people because we all remember what it feels like to be in your shoes, right? And to think about coming here with a family or with a partner and like the anxiety that can bring, whether it's finances or finding a place to live or, what are we going to do in the summer or childcare, et cetera. And, since we've been there, we feel excited to help. And we hope that people would reach out, in ways and let us contribute.
It's amazing. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate your insights and your experience, and it's been super helpful to hear how you felt about it and how you thought about the process. Thank you so much to you all for joining us, and we really hope you'll consider joining us here at the HBS community.